All right, this is Bob Serling, and this is 15-Minute Email Academy. And today my guest is John Corcoran, who you can see on the left here. And John is a former speechwriter for the White House and Bill Clinton in particular. And he's an absolute master at developing relationships with the right people. And a lot of the work that John does with his clients focuses on building relationships with the right people and leveraging them to build your own business. And his expertise has been featured in Forbes, Newsweek, Huffington Post, American Express, and many other publications. But I've gotten to know John over the past year, and what impresses me most about you, John, is just your really deep connection with your clients and your subscribers, and your willingness to go the extra mile for them. And this email that we're going to share today really exemplifies that. So with that, I want to welcome you.
Well, awesome, Bob. I'm honored to be here, and thanks so much.
Well, great. So thanks a lot for making the time. And let me shift over to the screen now so we can bring up your email, and then we'll go through it.
Okay, sounds good.
And I'll try to go easy on you.
Okay, good. It's always intimidating to have your words critiqued under a microscope. So it's no easy feat.
Okay, so I see the screen came up.
Got it.
We got the wrong piece. Hang on, I'm going to have to jump back and fix this. It'll take me just a second. I'm a master at technology, as here. Okay.
I'm like that. So we're using Zoom here. I'm like that on Zoom. My business partner, Jeremy, always makes fun of me because we've been using Zoom for months. And every time I use it, it's like it's the first time.
Right. Well, I managed definitely to mess it up. But here we go. We've got the email up here. And so this, and the reason I said, kind of touching back on what I said about how you always go the extra mile for your clients. Normally what we do is I talk about an email that somebody's using to get great results for themselves. And while you may be using this, I'm sure you are, to get results.
Sure, yeah, I have, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The main purpose of it is that you give it away to your clients and subscribers so they can get great results. And I think that's just fantastic. So you call it the ultimate feedback email. And why don't you explain what that means for?
Sure. Yeah. So, what we help, my business partner is a recovering chiropractor. I'm a recovering lawyer, and we both manage to get away from serving clients one-on-one, be more selective about doing one-on-one client work, and do more leveraged one-to-many type of client activity. And so that's what we help a lot of people with now is how to get out of the one-on-one trading hours for dollars and get into more leveraged working with groups. And so the critical factor in that, in making a shift, in going from a done-for-you solution where you're helping someone by doing it for them, is to understand what your market wants from you. That's incredibly important. And so in order to do that, you need to be able to get your target market on the phone, whether it's past clients or a new market that you want to serve. And you need to be able to talk to them and figure out what their pains are, what their challenges are, and how you can help them. So that's why we call it the ultimate feedback email template, because what you want to do with this is you want to be able to get feedback from people. You want to be able to get them on the phone. And this is designed in order to be able to do that and facilitate that process.
Great. So before we jump into this email itself, why the phone rather than a survey? I see so many people using a survey for some type of information.
Yeah, you can use a survey. I've used surveys extensively. I just think you miss some of the nuances. You miss the ability to follow up and ask a follow-up question, probe a little deeper. Sometimes people, how many surveys do we fill out, right, online? We fill out a lot of them. And so people might be rushed and they might not give it their full thought and attention. So I just find that over the phone, you're able to get a lot deeper.
Great. Okay, so let me just scroll down to this a little bit. As everyone can see, I've marked a number of blocks in red. The first block, number 1, is the subject line. So what is the formula you use here for this subject line?
Well, you want your subject line to be short short stands out in the inbox. Most subject lines are very long. And they oftentimes, everything's very formal, like capitalization on every letter, or at the beginning of every letter at the beginning of every word. And oftentimes there isn't punctuation, or if there's punctuation, maybe there's a period. You want to inspire curiosity. You want people to read that subject line and to think, I got to open this. And so asking a question in a very short format with a question mark at the end is about as enticing as it gets. Like, I got to open this to figure out, well, why do they want to talk? What do they want to talk about?
Yeah, and it also sounds real personal. It's not just get on my calendar, book a call. It's, can we talk?
Yeah.
It's like something you'd send.
Yeah, it's not professional survey April 2017, version number 1 or something boring like that. Yeah.
Okay, so the second block is the open, and do you actually use the word personal in that line?
No. That's just saying fill in something personal here. Okay. I mean, some kind of personal detail like, oh man, it's been so long since we saw each other in San Diego. I hope your wife Carol is doing well. Just something like that.
Great. Okay, I'm glad I asked that. And then in the third block, that's your open, and I mean, again, it's really disarming in how personal it is. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. So you're just getting direct and to the point. Sometimes people ramble with these long, paragraphs and paragraphs of explanation, which are really unnecessary. And, people are so inundated in their inbox, they're just as inclined to just skip over it if it's too long, or figure that they'll get back to it, and they just don't. So you just want to be direct and to the point and say, look, I need your help and I thought of you. And that's complimentary too. I immediately thought of you is like, wow, like, this person has some knowledge or has some expertise, which would be really helpful. And we like to think that we can be useful. We like to think that we're in demand for others. So that is why that piece is crafted the way that it is.
Yeah, and very much so. And it's also very personal. I immediately thought of you only means one person. It doesn't. Yeah. It's not I immediately thought of my subscriber.
Right. Yeah, it's not I'm doing a survey of 100,000 people and you're one of 100,000.
Yeah, very personal and very warm. Okay, so this fourth block is the fill in the blanks block. And this is great because this is the real service you're doing for your clients and subscribers. You're showing them exactly how they can take this thing, fill it in, and use it to get really critical feedback to help improve their product. So you want to take us through this block?
Right. And this needs to be relevant to your target market. If you are sending this email to a florist and you're saying, I'm knee deep working on my, Yoga 2018 program, which is my program to help yoga store or yoga shop owners to get more yoga clients, then the florist is going to say, what the heck, this doesn't speak to me at all. But if you're targeting someone and what you've described is meeting a challenge or a pain or an opportunity that they experience, then they're going to think, oh, wow, that could be helpful to me. I would like to contribute to this. I really want to help this person because I want to know the answer, or I want to know what this solution is. And so that's why that, is crafted the way that it is.
Yeah. And I think it's really great is that you give an exact example within the email of how to fill it in. So anybody can see that and fill that in. So that's really a great feature of it as well. And then, block number 5 is what I call a soft call to action. It isn't, right now, drop this and get on my calendar. Here's the link, and you send them out to Calendly or something. It's soft. Why did you choose to use this softer approach rather than kind of a command type?
Well, I think here's where the art and the science of email kind of is relevant because, you've received a ton of emails, Bob. I've received a ton of emails. If someone's reaching out for the first time and it has a direct calendar link in there, unless it's someone that is a friend or someone that I know well, I'm more inclined to be like, what? This person's asking something of me and they're requiring me to go click on that link. And I'm pretty sophisticated. I mean, I've been using an online scheduler for years. I use them all the time. I recognize their value. but it just feels a little presumptuous to send them that link right away. You haven't even gotten the permission. Plus, you want that buy-in. You want someone to just hit a respond. You respond and say, yeah, this sounds good. I'd be open to it. And maybe they're going to suggest a time, so you don't even have to use an online calendar link or suggest a time either. Or maybe they're just going to say, yes, absolutely, I'm open to it. Send me your calendar link and I'll book a time.
Great. And so because you are asking for a call, and I mean, it does take time to do those calls, obviously a survey. I think a lot of people use a survey because it's lazy, because, you know,
I agree.
you move people over. But like you said, you will not get the depth of understanding or the nuances from a survey that you get from talking with people. But because you are scheduling real calls that you're going to have, how many people do you normally send this to at one time?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on your bandwidth, you know, how much time you have. But I'll say this, I mean, you gave the example of a survey. I mean, if you really do feel for these, if you're really reaching out to someone who is a perfect fit for something that you're creating, and you would like for them to be part of that program, if you go and send them a survey, and then you call back 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 2 months later and say, guess what? Good news. I read your survey results. I created this thing. And you call them or you send an email to them. They don't have the same degree of buy-in as if they spent time on the phone with you. Maybe it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes. I actually just did this for someone else earlier today. I spent an hour on the phone where I was on the receiving end. I was giving them mostly feedback on a program that they were creating.
Yeah.
Now, if they call me back a month later, I'm thinking, well, they delivered a lot of value in that conversation. I'm already invested in the result. If they then offer me a solution that is going to solve a challenge or a pain for me, I'm going to be much more inclined to participate, to buy into that program. And so it's the same thing here, you know, where you have, if someone just sends you a survey, you fill it out really quickly, and then you don't even think about it for 2 months, you're much less likely to buy into actually, you know, joining the program or offer that they create.
Right. Okay. So I know this is, this isn't science, but let's say you were to send this to 100 people. How many approximately would you expect to respond?
You know, it really depends on the personal relationship that you have with them and whether it is a good fit, right? I mean, you know, how busy that target audience is, whether it really scratches an itch, whether it addresses a pain that they have. We've seen as high as 95% response rate on this email, not open rate, response rate, like responding to it. When you keep it really short, you keep it really personal, and you have the right target audience, you can expect to see that. Now, do all of those transition into booking a time, completing a call with you, all those things? No, there's going to be some drop off all along the way. But, you know, I mean, if you're targeting people that you have strong relationships with and it's a key pain, you could go 20 for 20 if it's the right group of people and they already trust you, they already like you. You know, there's no reason that you couldn't. If you follow up on it and you continue to, you know, make sure to get those calls booked and follow through with them.
Great. And so the final block in this is your close, which is very consistent with that personal reaching out feel. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, you bring it back to the personal here. So you're reminding them that personal and the relationship is paramount to you. This isn't just about a transaction. You know, you open with the personal, you're closing with the personal. I want to know what's going on with you, you know, and I want to hear what's going on with you as well. And letting them know that it is sincere. I think that's why you want to round it out with the personal as well.
Yeah, I thought it was a great close, instead of, because many people would be tempted to just remind them, and remember, you know, let me know soon because I'd love to talk to you. Instead, it's much more, it's about them, that you want to hear from them, and personal, and just so consistent with the whole tone of it. So,
thank you.
Well, that's great, John. My final question for you is, how do people find out more about you and what you do?
Sure. Yeah. So, well, first of all, I have to give credit to my business partner, Jeremy Weiss, who came up with the basic structure here. And he and I have used different versions of this, but this is largely his creation. We've honed it and modified it. But he and I run Rise 25. You can check us out at Rise 25. We help professional services entrepreneurs to shift from one-to-one away from trading hours to dollars and more towards leveraged activities. So, But yeah, thanks. It's a pleasure, Bob.
Yeah, and I know that my subscribers who've participated in Rise 25 or used your materials really rave about it. So the link to that will be in the show notes under this video, so be sure to check it out. And John, thanks again for your time today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks, Bob.
Okay.